Hey guys, Eric and Terri here to talk about Preacher. We're going to talk about the first episode. We will not get into big spoilers for it though, so this is a safe space.
He's a preacher.
He's a preacher. So they screened this pilot at WonderCon. They've actually been screening it quite a bit. They screened it at South by Southwest a couple weeks ago. So, it feels like they have confidence in it. Terri, did you think they should have confidence in it? What did you think of it?
Yeah, when I watched this, I had not read the first volume of the graphic novel. I've since speed read it because I was super on board with it. But like literally right from the opening scene, I was like, okay, you have me. Like it's so weird, I think is a really good word for it. Like it's violent and vile sometimes and hilarious, but just like weird. And hearing them talk about it, we've been hearing them talk about this project for a while, and Sam and Seth and Evan, the creators, were all like, we just want to make something that you've never seen on TV before. And I don't think I've ever seen anything quite like this pilot.
Yeah, it's pretty out there. So I am a huge fan of the comics. I was one of those guys in college who's like, Preacher man,
Garth
Preacher,
Ennis, man, he just gets it.
And I love the pilot, and I was a little wary going in. The trailer didn't quite sell me on it, and even the casting, I like Dominic Cooper a lot, but he wasn't quite what I envisioned as Jesse. But yeah, I think you watch it and you think, okay, they got the tone, they nailed it, as far as just that out there, very irreverent, very pushing the boundaries sort of style of it all. Evan Goldberg and Seth Rogen wrote the pilot and directed it, and I think they bring sort of that, the right tone to it.
I think they get it. I think they were those guys in college too.
Oh, yeah.
We know them so
they
much
were
for the comedy.
College, they were writing for sitcoms.
Or on sitcoms.
Right.
But I think, if anyone had any concerns, which I think the second that they both got on board this project, we all were like, good, you have your baby. Like, this is the thing we've known you've cared about for ages. But if anyone was concerned that their like sense of comedy or anything like that, their background wouldn't be right for this, they're just like so spot on. You talked about Dominic Cooper. You were a little bit nervous going in.
Yeah.
I was not, because I didn't really have the comics as a backbone beforehand. He really impressed me, but more importantly, Joseph Gilgun as Cassidy and Ruth Negga as Tulip are just like, I'm still undecided about which of them had a better first scene, because they're both so insane and awesome in their own ways. I think Cassidy has the better first scene.
I think Tulip.
Oh. Well, good. We can agree to disagree, because they're seriously both so great. What did you feel about them?
They're both great entrances, and yeah, I think they both they make an impression in their first scenes, which are separate scenes. But I do think Tulip, there's something about just the character, the attitude. I only knew Ruth Negga from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which I liked her a lot on, but a completely different character. She has to play this sort of spunky, tough, just the attitude she brings, the sort of wry sense of humor, and very credible as far as like being a dangerous person in some ways too. She's great, and I think a lot of people, I think this character is going to be very iconic very quickly.
And I think what's interesting is she looks really different than Tulip in the comics.
Yeah.
Like, this is like a,
She's not white.
She's not white, she's
Yes.
not blonde. I think she, based on what I've read in the first volume, she has a little bit of a different personality, I think. I think she's a bit more like off the handle in the show, but I just think Ruth Negga nails it. And I think, like people might have any hesitations going in, like you did with Dominic, I just think Ruth is really going to impress people right from the start.
What I will say is that, if you are a purist, if you are I want a page-for-page adaptation, I want the characters exactly like the comic, it won't be for you. As someone who loved the comic, though, and doesn't sort of need that, it's I know this is always a weird case to get into, but it spiritually nailed it, right? So even though some things were different, and story-wise, it's definitely telling its own version of the story. And even Dominic Cooper as Jesse isn't exactly the Jesse I envision.
He's struggling a little bit more, I think, with like trying to be a preacher in this world and his place in it.
But he's still great in his own way, and it still feels like it's an adaptation. They're taking the source material. They're putting their own spin on it, and but completely staying true to what you kind of the vibe of Preacher, and that's what made me so happy about it.
Yeah, I think like right from the first frames in Preacher, it has a very explosive beginning, you could say. There certainly is some of that explosiveness in this pilot, but talking about it afterwards, it sort of chronologically takes place before the beginning of where the first issue picks up. So I think it seems like they might just want to be establishing the characters a little bit more and taking a season or whatever for us to get to know them, which I'm okay with. That's good storytelling, right? It's different between TV shows and comics.
And I also think they're going to take sort of the remix approach, you know.
Yeah.
So because we know Jackie Earle Haley is coming in as a character who was introduced pretty far into the comics, but he's in the first season. So I think you're going to see that idea of them, and I think they've talked about this, about the idea that there'll definitely be key moments from the comics, but it will not be the like, okay, we're following this issue, this storyline. They're going to weave in and out and bring things up when you might not expect them, and some things will be brand new. But the pilot just gives me a lot of confidence that they are on the right track.
Yeah, I think it's really important to take away that as a diehard Preacher fan, Eric was super on board. As someone who didn't really know anything about it going in, I was super on board. I think that this is like a great new project for AMC to have in their slate. I think people are gonna be into it.
Are you saying it's the next big thing?
I think it's the next big thing, guys.
There you go. There you go. That's what we thought of Preacher. If you were at the South by Southwest screening or the WonderCon screening, let us know in the comments what you thought. But we'll have plenty more on Preacher in the lead up. I believe it's coming in late May. Am I getting that right? Well,
Yes.
why
Yeah,
not? Let's
sure.
say it. Let's say it. Plenty more on Preacher. Keep it here at IGN.
May 22nd, right?
I think so.
I think so.